Hi, I'm Wayne and this is Bassador Woodworking. Today I built this little footstool. I started by ripping some scrap plywood into 2-inch strips. The strips are 15.5 inches long and will form the legs of the stool. This is my first time attempting kerf bending, so I'm cutting an extra piece. Each leg will have 2 bends and will be connected with lap joints. After cutting a test piece, I calculated that I would need to make 11 cuts to get the correct bend radius for the legs. I set the radial arm saw so that it would make a non-through cut, leaving the bottom layer of veneer intact, allowing me to glue a bend into the leg. I made an initial cut in the piece and then advanced the leg a little less than 1/8 of an inch and placed a mark on my fence with a pencil. After each cut, I advanced the cut to the mark on the fence and make another cut, each cut closer to the center of the piece. When I have 11 cuts, I rotate the piece 180 degrees and cut the second bend. I followed this process in all 3 pieces. I then select the 2 legs that came out the best and set aside the third in case I made a mistake. Have you ever been just laying on your table saw and just wished you could have some Bassador Woodworking merch? Well, now you can. Just go to BassadorWoodworking.com. It's a great way to support the channel and you get some cool merch out of it. Now, let's get back to the video. I then cut the lap joint in the center of each leg. To do this, I adjusted the cut height of the radial arm saw to close to halfway through the 3/4 inch plywood by eyeballing it. I then cut a test joint and made the necessary adjustments. When I was happy with the fit, I cut the joint in the center of the legs on opposite sides so they will mate with each other. I then loaded the kerfs up with wood glue and clamped the legs into their final shape. I purposely put a lot of glue in this joint. It was my hope to pack as much wood glue in the voids as possible. I gave these about an hour to set, which ended up being not long enough, and the joint still had quite a bit of movement in them when it came time for final assembly. While the legs dried, I turned my attention to the top of the footstool. I cut a 12-inch piece off of some scrap at the radial arm saw, and then squared it up to 12 inches on the table saw. I then rounded the corners on the homemade disc sander. I knocked down the hard edges using an 1/8 inch roundover bit in the router table. I sanded the top to 220 and then applied 2 coats of shellac, buffing the surface with 400 grit sandpaper between coats. This gave it a nice satin finish. Still waiting for the legs to dry, I set to work on the cross braces for the legs. I measured the distance between the 2 sets of legs and cut 2 cross members to match. I then cut a lap joint for the cross members in the same manner as before. This joint is held with glue and number 8 wood screw. I then started final assembly. I applied wood glue to the lap joints and the legs and used a couple of clamps to pull the joints closed. I then attached the legs to the top using 2 number 8 wood screws. This is where it became evident that I should have let the legs set for a longer period of time. I decided to apply some super glue to the joints and spray them with an activator to make the glue set instantly. I then used the glue and activator to hold the cross members in place while I drove some 2-inch wood screws to hold everything tight. I then began the process of sanding. I sanded what I could with the random orbit sander and some 220 grit sandpaper, but had to use some sandpaper wrapped around a dowel to sand the bends in the legs. I then applied the same 2 coats of shellac as the top and buffed with 400 grit between coats. And there's the footstool. It wasn't a very long build. I wish I had left the kerf-bended joints to dry longer. I think I would have had a lot less trouble during assembly if I just let those dry overnight or something. But this being the first time I've ever done kerf-bending, I'm very happy with the results. I just need something simple to put my feet up on underneath my desk, so this is going to be more than adequate. So thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. And until next time, thank you.